What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to a new YouTube video. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. I myself am sheltering in place here in Los Angeles, so that is about all I'm doing. Just staying at home, trying to make some videos for you guys. Next week though, however, we're gonna be making some pretty fun ones, including how to work from home, as well as some editing tips for you guys. So definitely stay tuned for all of that. Nonetheless though, I did want to kick things off by making a Q&A video. I've actually never done one on this channel before, so I thought it'd be pretty fun to take some questions from you guys and give you guys some answers and feedback and advice, all that fun stuff. So I put out an Instagram story a couple days ago and you guys responded very well. There were 500 questions in total, so obviously we're not going to be answering every single one of those questions. However, I did pick the best questions that I really feel like would help you guys and give you guys some sort of advice or direction. So without further ado, let's hop right into the video and answer some questions for you guys. The first question that I have here is from Micah Hamilton, a good friend of mine here in Los Angeles. Micah, hopefully you're doing well, man. He asks, how do you go about finding locations to shoot? I think this is a great question. Locations for me is such a big part of what I do. If you guys notice, especially with this YouTube video, a lot of the locations are very well planned out in advance. I just think it works a lot better that way. If I have the ability to go scope out a location beforehand, just to see how it would look before we actually go shoot the video, it goes a long way. You know, it really allows me to set up the shots as I would like and not have to worry about trying to find locations and rush, especially when we're running out of light, which we tend to do anyways. Honestly, how I find the majority of my locations here in Los Angeles is actually by just driving and walking around. And anytime I see something that might be of interest, I usually mark it on Google Maps in a separate little map section on the app. You guys can just drop pins wherever you want and save those, mark them as photo shoot locations. And therefore I have a nice kind of Rolodex almost of just photo locations that will work great for YouTube videos, as well as photo shoots in a pinch when I might need those as well. In terms of traveling though, obviously this becomes a little bit more tricky. With that, I usually just do my fair share of research, Google Maps, Google Earth, even just searching, you know, where you're going to be. And sometimes even it's as simple as just searching like top photo locations. And then what you can do from there is take your own unique vision to that location and use that as your location for your shoot. When you're traveling internationally though, I would highly recommend trying to find somebody that's already been there before. I oftentimes post on my Instagram story when I'm about to travel somewhere to see if somebody has some sort of local suggestions, especially for photo locations or any specific areas that I might want to go check out. This is really helpful because it allows me to focus my time and energy on specific locations that I know will be worthwhile. With all that being said, I think it's also really important to leave at least a little bit of the location scouting to when you actually get to your first locations, because you might actually find something that could be worthwhile or interesting, but you might not see that until you're actually at the location, and you might not be able to envision that until you start actually shooting and creating whatever you are shooting on that particular day. Hopefully that answers that question. On to the next one. The next question is from Elliot. He asks, what key aspects do you focus on when editing to keep a consistent feel? I think this is another great question. To me, when I'm starting to edit and I think about consistency through all of my photographs, a couple of things stand out personally to me. To me, the tone curve is one of the most important aspects when you're editing an image, because the tone really does affect the entire image, whether that's in the highlights, in the shadows, in the lights, in the darks, in the midtones. Whatever it is, the tone is really what kind of the overall feel of the image is about. And I think for me personally, that is what I focus the majority of my efforts on when I start editing an image. And if I can keep that consistent tonality through many different photographs and different cameras and different photos and whatever, it's going to look really similar. And this is kind of how I've started with my editing process. I start, with the basics like the tone curve, and then you work your way into the finer details. But if you have the same kind of basic overall process for each image, you're gonna most likely come out with something that's pretty consistent. Another thing that I focus on as well is color. I think color obviously is a pretty defining characteristic of someone's photography. And for me, I definitely focus on that as well. I love to use very pastel colors and tones in my images. I don't really like anything too bright or too saturated. And that's again, another stylistic choice that I've decided for my photography. But I would encourage you guys to figure out whatever you enjoy in any particular image, and then start creating an entire consistent style based on what you want to see throughout, multiple different images, different days, years, months. The more and more consistent that you can be with your stylistic choices, the more obviously consistent your body of work will be. I would encourage you guys to figure out what you want to be a part of your editing style and look, and go from there. Next question is from Nay Sid, I think is how you say it. He asked me how I'm doing during the pandemic. thanks for asking. I'm actually doing pretty well, all things considered. I think I'm trying to remain positive, obviously. I think for me, it's much easier to focus on the things that I can change and have control over versus the things that I don't have control over or can't change. To me, there's no real reason to worry about things that you don't have any control over. I'd much rather focus on the things that I have control over in my everyday life. With all that being said though, it's definitely weird. It's even still weird making these YouTube videos. I think this is something though that really helps me feel a bit more at ease because this is something that I would normally do. Anything with like a routine definitely really helps me personally. I don't know about you guys, but in the morning at the very least, I'm still making breakfast and coffee every morning, which definitely helps. And I think, you know, resembling some sort of routine and just getting ready for the day, even if you're not leaving the house, really helps me as well. But yeah, all things considered, I feel extremely fortunate to be happy, healthy, safe, and my family is healthy and safe as well. So I really don't have anything to complain about. So the next question is from Mina. She asks, can you recommend a good 35mm camera? So in terms of 35mm cameras, there are just so many options out there. Honestly, there's really no wrong choice in my opinion, especially if you're just looking to get started into 35mm photography. For me though, I would definitely recommend some sort of SLR camera. Single lens reflex is what that stands for. Essentially you got a big mirror going up and down in here and you can look right through here and it's gonna feel right at home. If you've used any sort of DSLR or anything like that, this is going to feel very simple and easy to use. So it's a great introduction to 35mm photography. Personally, I love this camera. This is the Nikon F3 and these are pretty cheap, which is nice. And the nice thing about SLRs is they are pretty reasonably priced, especially compared to other rangefinder cameras like Leicas or Mamiyas. This is a great option because it's going to allow you to get into 35mm photography, kind of get your feet wet per se, and then see where you want to go from there. Personally, I love this camera. The images I get out of it are great and I have absolutely no complaints. I would honestly recommend going on eBay. You can't really go wrong, like I said, with purchasing a 35mm camera. The only thing I would recommend is to make sure that the film camera has been tested, which they usually say in the description on eBay. But other than that, you can honestly buy whatever you'd like. I personally would recommend an SLR, something like a Canon AE1 or maybe a Nikon. They're just reasonably priced and they always work. You know, they're the kind of bread and butter of 35mm SLRs for a reason because they just never break. They work and they take great photos. So definitely go check it out. So the next question is from Mads. He asks, what do you do to make the white border around your photos? Great question. Really simple answer though. I just use the app Afterlight. For me, it works great. It's always done the job for me as long as I've used borders on my Instagram account. If you guys want to check out the photos that I post over there, essentially what I'm trying to say is I post a 4x5 photo or a 5x4 photo or whatever, you know, a 2x3 photo, whatever you'd like. And you can essentially pick the border size so it's going to be the same size as your actual image. So you can upload a full bleed image with that beautiful white border. And honestly, I just think it looks really nice. I don't know, it's my personal opinion, but I would definitely recommend checking out Afterlight. Not only is it great for borders, it's also just great for any sort of photo editing needs. It's a very robust application. I'll link down to it in the description. Next question is from Steph. She asks, how did you learn photography? Was it at college or are you self-taught? So I'm actually self-taught. I went to high school, obviously, and I took photography there. So if you guys are in high school, I would highly recommend you try your local photography class at the high school. That really helped me kind of shape my beginner knowledge of cameras and photography. And it's really nice to have a beginner knowledge of everything, especially at a young age in high school. And actually right after high school, that's when I moved out when I was 18. So I haven't had any sort of like formal education necessarily in terms of photography. But the cool thing is about being in the 21st century is there's so much information on the internet now, especially with YouTube. There's just a plethora of different tutorials and great people to subscribe to for photography advice and great things to learn. Especially in this time right now, I think this is an amazing opportunity to learn something new, learn a new skill, learn a new craft. So if you guys are looking to learn anything new, I would just honestly suggest just searching YouTube and seeing what you can find. In terms of if I have a correct answer for if you need formal education for photography or not, I don't really think I have a right answer. That's kind of just my quick little story. But I would honestly just sit yourself down and figure out what works best for you. Some people work better in a classroom. Some people work better if they teach themselves. It's really just about what works best for you. So consider all the different options and see what works best. So the next question is from Cody. He asks, what's your favorite photo of Allegra? So for those of you who don't know, Allegra is my girlfriend. We've been dating for a little over 2 years now, and I've definitely taken my fair share of photos of her. I would have to say some of my favorite photos I've taken are when we were in Portugal. We went there last summer and it was just amazing. Portugal is one of my favorite countries and we just had such a fun time. The photos there are very sentimental to me and we just had, again, such an amazing time. It was very relaxing and those photos just remind me of that peaceful time. I would also say when Allegra lived in Italy, we took some pretty amazing photos as well. We just had a really fun time exploring. We went to Switzerland, we went to Denmark, all around Italy. It was just a blast. So I would have to say probably one of those 2 trips I've taken my favorite photos of Allegra. But honestly, we just take a lot of really fun photos in California as well, just living life. So I'll show you guys some of those now. Cade asks, how do you mindfully balance free shoots after already taking on paid work? This is a great question. I think this is a common misconception. First of all, if you don't think that you should do free work, I would highly encourage you actually to do that. I think the reason being is it gives you a lot of experience for paid shoots down the road. If you guys look at my Instagram account on my website, I would say maybe about half to 3/4 of it is paid work, but the rest of it is just shoots that I put together on my own dime and wanted to create for a various number of different reasons. The most common one though is definitely to elevate my portfolio. Especially if you guys are asked to do a shoot and they don't have any budget, consider some of the following. Maybe this shoot is actually worth it for you because you're gonna be able to add these images to your portfolio and get more paid work down the road. Maybe this is a client that you've always wanted to work with and this is the start of building a relationship with that client. Some of the biggest projects I've ever got were actually because I took a free or discounted shoot rate in the beginning and then we worked our way up to bigger shoots down the road. But a lot of the time, this is a great opportunity to prove your value to any specific client. So I would encourage you guys to honestly take this into consideration next time you're asked to do a shoot that doesn't have a lot of budget or any at all. It might benefit you in a lot of different ways that you might not even be thinking about. So I would encourage you to think about the other ways that it could benefit you besides just getting that paycheck. Next question is, are you looking to stay in LA long term? So I've been living in LA about 2.5 years now, and I think it's honestly one of the best moves physically that I've done in my life. I've lived a number of different places in Utah, in San Francisco, in Portland, Oregon, as well as Seattle. That's where I'm from. But there's something about LA that I really just enjoy. I love the energy here. I love the creative spirit in LA. And I really do love surrounding myself with talented people, and LA is the perfect place for that. I've really been able to grow my network here as well as my business, start new avenues, including this YouTube channel, as well as just a deep dive into video as well. I just had a lot of fun. I don't really see myself leaving anytime soon. I do think LA is definitely a 0 or 100 kind of place. You either really love it or it's just not the right place for you. And I've had a lot of friends who have moved here and they haven't really enjoyed it and they've since moved out. And that definitely happens. I would, encourage you guys to try to experience it for yourself. But for me personally, I'm sticking around for a while. I don't have any plans on leaving. I love it in LA. Next question is from Valentine. He asks, what's your favorite country you've ever traveled to? So I have a couple different answers for this. I would say in terms of natural beauty, New Zealand is definitely one of my favorite places I've ever been. Everything from the people to the beautiful nature. Everywhere you look, it's just beautiful. Like there's amazing fjords and mountain ranges, and you're right on the ocean because it's obviously an island down in the South Pacific. Just an amazing country filled with lush rainforests as well as crazy mountains, snow-capped peaks. There's really not anything to hate about New Zealand. I love it there. Everybody that I've met there is just so kind and nice too. I've been there 3 times now and I've made actually 3 separate videos from all of my travels down there. If you guys want to check those out, I'll link those down in the description. I would have to say Ethiopia is one of my favorite places I've been as well. I really just enjoyed the sense of community there. Everybody that I met in Ethiopia was so kind. Some of the nicest people that I've ever met in my entire life were on that trip to Ethiopia. The coffee obviously is amazing. The food is delicious, their local cuisine. And I was actually there filming with a nonprofit and we were kind of in some slums outside of the capital city of Ethiopia. And it was a lot to see at first, but I really do believe that seeing that kind of poverty is very important. And I think a lot of people really need to see that at some point in their life. Just to be reminded of how lucky they are. I definitely remember vividly seeing some of those slums outside of the neighboring cities. And it was definitely really hard to see, but I will never forget that. And it really has inspired me to go back and try to help in any way that I can. On that specific trip, I was shooting some video for a documentary series, and I definitely want to go back at some point and help again with some other nonprofits or just lend a hand in any way that I can. If you guys ever get the chance to go to Africa at all, I would highly recommend it. It's such a beautiful place. The people there are amazing, and it's one of the more untouched areas of this world. Next question is from Nika. He asks, do you have a favorite place to send film for development? Definitely do. My favorite place that I personally have sent film is called State Film Lab. They're over in Kentucky. I actually just got 23 rolls back today from them, so that was kind of a nice surprise this morning. I think what I love the most about State Film Lab scans is the tonality is amazing. It's kind of what I've always wanted with my film scans. A lot of the time I go to labs and I get really flat scans back, which is nice. I can obviously edit them in Lightroom, but I want to do as little editing to the scans as possible. That's what I'm paying for. And I really do believe State does an amazing job. I always am super happy with how the scans turn out. And I honestly just don't have any issues whatsoever. I'm always really happy with them. If you guys want to go check out their website, they're still processing scans even during this pandemic, which is amazing. They're definitely a little bit longer return times than normal, but honestly, it's really worth it. I'm super happy always with how State film scans look, and I'm going to be continuing to send them my rolls in the future. Next question is from Andrew. He asks, can we get a more in-depth video of how you edit your photos in Lightroom? I was actually planning on making a video about this pretty soon, but yeah, essentially I just want to make like a kind of in-depth tutorial of how I go about editing my images in Lightroom, everything from start to finish, what I do to tweak my images to make them look the way that they do. I know this is one of the most highly requested videos that I've gotten, period, on this YouTube channel, so I'm definitely working hard to get that video out there for you guys. I just want to make sure I do it justice, so stay tuned for that. Next question is from Sam, great name. Do you have any artistic goals or visions you haven't achieved yet that you hope to? Great question. So when I think about my photographic career thus far, I never want to feel like I've made it per se. I always have some sort of desires or, excitement for learning something new. And I always want to kind of keep that excitement because I really do believe that that helps me elevate my work to new levels. And I just have a blast, honestly, just learning new things about photography day in and day out. With all that being said, I definitely have some goals and aspirations for where I want my photography to go. A lot of it, I'm just gonna kind of leave up to, time. I wanna see what happens with time, and I'll kind of let that dictate how my career goes. But I definitely wanna make some more books. I think that's like just such a cool way to be able to share your work with other people in such a tangible format. I definitely am interested in doing some sort of zine as well. I don't really know exactly what I want that to be about yet. I'm thinking more so around the idea and concept of living in California just because I love all the aspects of life here. But honestly, I really just want to have an open mindset for the future and see what that brings. I have no idea what could happen or what could change, and I just want to be open to all of it and never feel like I'm not learning or growing as an artist, because I do feel the second that you limit yourself growing as an artist, it's usually because you think you've made it, or you think you know it all, or you don't think you can learn anything new. And I really never want to feel that way. So I'm really going to try hard to just be open to learning new techniques, new ideas, new creative styles. As the years have progressed, I've really kind of gone in and out of multiple different styles, and I want to continue to do that in the future. I don't want to look back 5 years from now and be creating the exact same photos that I am in this very moment. I think that's what's so cool about being an artist, is you get the chance to progress and find new avenues and new ways of expressing yourself through your art. Next question is from Adam. He asks, what was your first paid job? Any tips for getting the courage to pursue paid work? Great question. I think this is a very highly requested question for a lot of photographers. How do you make money? How do you do what you do? And honestly, there's no short answer to this question. From my experience, it's definitely worth it, like I said earlier, to take on free or very low budget work, because it's going to allow you to build your portfolio and have something to show for it. You honestly can't really get any sort of big jobs necessarily if you don't have anything to back it up. You have to have something to show, something that provides value. And people, a lot of the time, who are looking to hire you want to see some sort of example of, the work that they want to hire you for. And if you don't have that, it's going to be kind of hard for you to convince them that you're worth their time, let alone money. So what I would definitely recommend is to shoot the work that you want to be getting hired for. I will continue to reiterate this throughout multiple different videos I already have in the past, and I will continue in the future, because I do feel like this is one of the single-handed most important parts of getting paid as a photographer and be able to actually grow your career, is to shoot the work that you want to be getting hired for. If you're shooting weddings, but you want to be getting hired to shoot, lifestyle images or clothing images, nobody's gonna know that you wanna do that, because all they see are these wedding photos. You can still shoot the wedding photos on the side, and that's how you make your income, but you wanna be showing the work that you want to be getting hired for. Even if you're not getting paid for it right now, that's going to set you up for success down the road to get paid for the stuff that you wanna be doing. And believe me when I say this is a very long, windy road. I've been doing this for 8 years now, and it's really just not something that happens overnight. You have to be okay with that, and you also just should really enjoy the process. Right now, even if you're not getting paid for the stuff that you want to down the road, find a way to make money and supplement your income, and just enjoy the process. Enjoy the work that you're creating right now, and then in the future, you have no idea what could happen. You might be able to get paid for the work that you want to be doing. Last question is, what's the best way to start working with more brands? So this kind of piggybacks off of the last question that I just answered, but essentially it's so important to remember that this is a very long road. Nothing happens overnight. You know, I think with the internet, people think that shit just happens instantly, but it doesn't. You know, it takes a very long time to get anywhere with an artistic career. You want to show maturity, you want to show growth through your work. It's not just going to happen overnight. You can't just buy an expensive camera and expect that you're going to be able to get incredible high budget work right off the bat, because that's just not going to happen. You know, you have to be okay with the grind and working your way up and just realizing that you're not where you want to be yet, because guess what? None of us are where we want to be just yet. But that's kind of the fun in it for me. I really just enjoy the entire process of taking photos and building a portfolio and, you know, growing my brand, and then continuing to grow as an artist as well, try new styles stylistically, and just, you know, enjoy the whole process. I think instead of focusing on how do I shoot for more brands, I would much more focus on just the fundamentals and the little things in your photography business, as well as your artistic style. I think once you shift your focus to start working with the little things a lot more, you're gonna be surprised at how successful you might be able to become, because you're not focused on the money or the brands or, you know, I'm shooting for XYZ client. If you can be happy with the kind of work that you're creating, as well as, you know, where you're at as an artist, that's gonna go a long way, and clients can see through that in your images. So yeah, this kind of wraps up the first Q&A on this channel. I'm excited to do some more in the future. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Let me know down in the comments if you have any more questions. I'd be happy to answer those as well. But yeah, thank you so much as always for watching, guys. Thank you so much for the support on this YouTube channel. I know things are kind of weird right now, but I appreciate all the support and the lovely comments. Encourage you guys to stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, listen to the medical professionals. They know what to do best. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.